Chris, it's our first show since the end of January. A lot of stuff around the world has happened, but I think we got to lead off with something that I think to the both of us that has really touched our hearts since our childhood. We haven't really had a chance to talk about. How awesome was Jackass Forever?
When did you see it?
Opening night.
Yeah, same.
Oh my God.
Not opening night. I saw it Saturday, so I saw it the day after, and it was like just as good as the other two. So I went with someone who didn't see, who, I mean, she knows who Jackass is, but it's like our friend's fiance. She had never seen the other ones, but she'd seen like episodes of Viva La Bam. She had seen episodes of Wild Boys, so she like kind of had an idea about the world. But she was like, yeah, I'd never seen these. And I was like, dude, did you like her fiance? I was like, Garrett, did you fucking warn her about this? Like before going into it? And she's like, oh, he's like, yeah, I warned her about it. And I was like, no, but like not the stunts. I mean, like just the dick and balls and the dick and ball jokes and like just the guy humor. And just like, she's like, oh, he's like, yeah, no, trust me, I warned her. And she was dying laughing the whole time. When we got done watching, she goes, can we go back home and just watch the other three movies? Like we were going to like a club that night to like this show. And she was like, honestly, guys, like, do we even want to go this? Maybe let's just stay home and watch Jackass 1 through 3. Like she was so pumped about it. It's just, how can you not just love those movies and just laugh at how ridiculous and stupid those guys are?
Dude, so whenever we watch movies, we have a running booklet, and Whitney and I have a running booklet of the movie we watched, a little review, and we give it our score. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 because I'm like, dude,
yeah,
the fact that it's been 23 years, these guys have been in our lives, they can still do it. And then also seeing the kind of, they're all so charming still. Like they're all so funny people. Like just seeing like Pontius doing his Pontius stuff. It's just all so good. And they still are willing to take one for the team. They're willing to show how far can you take the human body.
Yeah,
like
I loved how they
taking
paid
a sledgehammer.
Oh yeah. Oh God. I loved how they paid homage. They paid homage to a lot of the old original stunts, like the classics, like the bull rider, like the bull attacking Knoxville, and just like I don't know, just stupid shit like that.
It's honestly was one of my movie theater highlights, especially. Dude, I had more fun watching that in theater than like any Marvel movie.
Dude, that's a movie you have to see in theater because it's like you're a community. You're laughing at this shit together. Like that's the best part of it. Like
we all watched this stuff growing up.
I died laughing out loud the entire time with 50 other people in the room. It was fucking awesome. I loved it.
Well, the joy is over because guess what? Baseball's not back. Welcome to the Town Tailgate, everybody.
Yeah, this is a baseball podcast. We should talk about baseball.
Instead, we're going to talk about other jackasses.
Hold on. One quick basketball thought. Do you think that Mark Kotsay reached out to the Warriors about tickets, or do you think that he just bought those on his own? Because if you're that fucking high in the stands, I guarantee he bought those on his own.
I don't get it because if that was Gabe Kapler. Let's rewind it quick. A couple weeks ago, Warriors, Nuggets playing at Chase. They showed Mark Kotsay in the stands, except Mark Kotsay was like, he wasn't in nosebleeds by any means, but he was like
second deck.
Yeah, it's like you shouldn't have a manager of like a neighboring team sitting that high up, no matter where it's at, unless that was his choice. They wouldn't do Gabe Kapler like that. I'll say it.
Gabe Kapler would probably be a douchebag and hit up the Warriors, though.
Yeah, but you don't think after all these
look
years
at Gabe Kapler, bro. Gabe Kapler is dope. I love Gabe Kapler. This is a bit, by the way, for the listeners who are gonna like fucking aggregate this. He just looks like a total D-bag. Like, you know, he's got like insane muscles. He's got his glasses. Like he's got his beard. Like he's fucking.
He rides his fixie to.
Yeah. Like he seems like the type of person who thinks he's like super fucking important in this world that we live in when he's not. And he probably would, if not hit up the Warriors, hit up Farhan to be like, hey, do you think you could get me some tickets? And then he would hit up and then like it would be a thing where Mark Kotsay seems like the type of guy who's like his son's just like, Dad, can we go to a Warrior game? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he goes on he doesn't even go on Game Time. He doesn't even go on
He goes on Ticketmaster.
He goes on Ticketmaster.
Like a chump.
He would do it on the app. He does it on his laptop. No, not even his laptop. He does it on his desktop that's plugged into the wall in his like little office, like in the corner of his living room. And he buys those tickets and he prints them out on his printer.
We're trying to like
the picture. I painted quite the picture there for you, didn't I?
So what?
And I like how we're making fun of Kotsay about like being like this old school like type of guy when he's just like a baseball sabermetrician. So he's probably pretty inept when it comes to technology. But it's funnier to paint.
Too. It's not like he's just
it's just funnier to paint the picture that way.
So we were talking before this. I don't know if you've come up with any, but has there ever been a time where somebody has told you, oh, hey, don't worry about it. Like say for tickets or something. Hey, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
And then it was just extremely below expectations. Like
my brother does that all the time with literally everything that we do.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Where Larry will tell you like, oh yeah, no, it's all planned out. Don't worry. And you get there and it's like, Larry, we're at a crack house.
No, it's not even like that. Which I will say his birthday, which is something you didn't go to, by the way, terrible friend. His birthday was actually well planned out and really smacking, but you could probably argue that's more Caitlin and Gapern, my sister and my brother's girlfriend. But no, it's more things like, hey, Caitlin's birthday's coming up. We got to get her a gift. Like, oh yeah, we can get her this. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, I'll get it. I'll pick it up. And then like, it's the day before. And I like hit him up like, hey, did you get that thing? Cause he didn't send me a Venmo, Chris. He'll be like, oh shit. And then he'll like have to go and get it last minute. And then like, it won't be available. And we'll just be like, all right, well, I guess we're getting her like a bottle of tequila instead.
I think there's been times where when you've traveled, you're like, oh, this thing it's like the first time I went to Times Square. It's like I've only seen Times Square in pictures. Yeah. Like, oh, look, and then I'm like, oh, Times Square sucks.
Yeah, no local New York person goes to Times Square.
It's very much the Hollywood Boulevard. The Hollywood even
Boulevard's shittier though, I would say.
Agreed, but
trashier.
It's funny because even with the San Francisco, 70s, even with the San Francisco tour stuff, it's still kind of cool because it's just San Francisco is just a really pretty city, so like you can get away with that.
Yeah, and if you avoid the Tenderloin, like it's nice everywhere.
Ain't nothing tender about that motherfucker. Anyways, we had a very kind of packed show for the first time in a while. There's a lot of stuff going on.
10 minutes not on baseball. I just want that to be known.
That's okay.
Sorry, listeners.
That's okay. We're catching up. It's been a while. We got some stuff. Well, guess what? Baseball's not coming back anytime soon. We're going to get a little deeper into that. And there's some stuff that will be involved with the A's for that as well. The environmental report. Hey, guess what, folks? It passed city council. What's next? We'll be talking about that. And Eric Thames, you may remember him lighting the baseball scene on fire. Well, guess what? He is in the Oakland Athletics organization. And then the back half of the pod,
probably our DH is here. Just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. And then the back half of the pod, we are joined by Melissa Lockard. She is the staff writer and editor for Bay Area Baseball for the Athletic. If you don't follow her on Twitter, fantastic follow. She's really just knows everything you need to know about the minor leagues. We brought on here to kind of talk about the minors and kind of like, hey, what should we look forward to this season? Who should guys are looking forward to and all that stuff.
Also co-host of the Seam Heads podcast, a fellow Oakland A's podcast.
Yeah. But before we go into that, Chris, that we knew this was going to happen, but it finally happened. MLB, the MLBPA and the owners were not able to reach an agreement, which by the deadline that was yesterday at 2 p.m. Pacific, which means the first two regular season series have been canceled. Yeah, not much we can say about that. Where can we go from there, man?
I mean,
first two series are canceled.
We can do this dance all fucking day about, we can go into the details. It's pretty, I don't know. Okay. I side with the players on everything about this pretty much. So I guess you could say I'm biased. There are a few things that I want to bring up that I don't really understand the players' standpoint on that. So it almost feels like they're insulted by the method of negotiation that the league has been with them. So in response, they're just playing hardball, which makes sense. you know,
I mean, they play hardball for a living.
exactly. And the you know, I have a really good it's not misogynistic, actually. It's just very raunchy. I have a really good raunchy phrase I could throw in here that would explain a lot of the negotiation tactic from Major League Baseball, but I'm not going to. Let's just say the phrase is, I'm going to lay something on the table, and this is the way it's going to go. Many raunchy people out there know exactly what phrase I'm talking about, but it's just that the Major League Baseball is not negotiating in good faith. They had 2 months to present to the players union at least something, some version of what they're thinking, and then they could have gone back and forth. But no, they waited till they established this deadline. What was it? 2 weeks ago, they set this deadline, and they came to the table the day after the deadline. And the Players Association was like, okay, cool, let's try and work it out. They made them an offer. The players denied it. The players made an offer. The MLB denied it. And then the deadline comes up. I'm like, okay, cool, let's go to Arizona. Let's lay this out. Let's get in a room. Let's figure this shit out. And though I'm impressed in a lot of things that the league did compromise on, the ability to not just get this done so that we don't skip games is kind of a fucking joke. They're being very, I'm going to stop talking soon because I'm already getting very soapboxy. They're being very greedy with everything they're doing. They're trying to paint a picture to the public that they're losing money, that these are the steps that they have to take in order to gain revenue back to make the league profitable. But everybody knows, because this has been public knowledge since the end of the pandemic season, that they have made money in the past 5 years, specifically, because Rob Manfred references that, but also in the past 2 years, they've made money from these massive TV deals. So everything that they're negotiating, they're trying to play the victim, but they're not the victim.
You know, things are bad.
I apologize for the mess that was.
No, you're good. Don't worry. You're
conversation.
You're good.
To our listeners, that was all over the place.
Hey, look, this is our first podcast in a month. We got to, we're getting our legs back up because, hey, we haven't been recording as much because guess what? We have nothing to talk about because the stupid league can't figure it out. And we don't want to be on here talking about nothing, But anyways, besides the point, the fact that I heard you said Roger, you were going to say Roger Goodell, and it just made me think, like, I'm looking at Roger Goodell a completely different light because, for the longest time, Roger Goodell had the worst reputation for a few years. I was like, this guy is by far the worst commissioner in all of sports, all this stuff. He looks like an angel compared to what Rob Manfred has done to this sport in the last 5 years.
Let me touch on something real quick on that. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
What do you think the big differences is between Roger Goodell and Rob Manfred?
Courage
in what way?
I mean, I could see Roger Goodell actually like standing up to owners in some sense, in some ways.
So that was gonna be the reason why I asked that question is it seems like Roger Goodell actually cares and actually wants to make these changes, but he has to convince all these rich white guys to do it. Where Rob Manfred, he clearly doesn't. He's just doing the bidding. No,
and we've known this for years. He's the one who referred to the 2017 World Series title as a piece of metal, not that this thing that these people have been working their whole lives to try to get this achievement in their lives. We saw him practicing his little golf swing yesterday while he was like waiting. It's like, I hope he sucks at golf. And I know he probably does.
He's a classic, 3-foot putt gimme guy for sure.
Yeah. And
then give me that.
Yeah. Come on. But then also when he was like laughing and stuff and having a smile on his face when he had to announce that he had to cancel games. There's the numbers have shown they're going to keep blaming that, like, we're trying to make up for revenue loss, Every single number that's been put out has showed that the revenue that's happened in Major League Baseball since the mid 2010s is like astronomically high. They've brought in so much money during that time. There's nothing that there's no facts behind that. There's no facts but saying, oh, we're trying to make up for this. And then
And did you notice real quick? Did you notice on that point that he said the past 5 years, like he let that slip, and then a reporter was like, "Well, Rob, team values have gone up this much amount of dollars, whatever, in the past 5 years. So what are you talking about? They're trying to recoup their losses for 5 years." And he could tell oh fuck, I fucked up. I said too many years. Like I should have said 2 years. Like you could just see it on his face, like that he messed up and said the wrong thing.
And what's happened is, and we talked about, or you mentioned earlier, negotiating in bad faith. Well, Monday night, we were all going to bed waking up being like, great, this deal's going to be done. We should have known. We saw Bob Nightingale tweeting about things are looking very positive and all this stuff. But in reality, it sounded like a lot of these guys were just kind of like getting back pocketed by Major League Baseball. Be like, you need to spin this story a certain way for us, allegedly, but it just shows you like, there's no good faith in this. There's no, I forgot who tweeted it out, but they're like, oh, if only they put this amount of this amount of like work into like the media and pushing out a certain narrative as they did with like pushing out the images of their players, the game would be much bigger.
Yeah.
Because like the amount of like Ohtani is the biggest player right now, but he could be even higher up. And it's like, guess what? It's not like that right now because you're just so inept with how to run baseball. I don't know. Like, where do we go from here? It's like, look, baseball is going to come back. Idiots like us, we're going to go back to it. We're still going to watch. But like, what needs to happen to really, I don't think baseball's ever going to get back to the popularity it had in the 90s when we were kids.
The future is very grim. Future's very grim. I was waiting for your response, but I'll keep going.
No. Well, I was going to say, I said
this earlier in a text message with you and the Schlatters. I was like, baseball needs another Ripken record, another home run race, another win streak to get people back to baseball and get excited about something. Because in the past 20 years, you look at those three events, and it was a point where the game was kind of starting to lose faith in the public, and then those events happened, and it kind of brought people back, kind of saved the game. Cal Ripken's record and the home run race, specifically, like those are turning points in the history of baseball, but that saved the game. You could argue the streak is also a part of that situation because it was right after 9/11, so people like needed something to distract themselves. But
I think I've had two conspiracy theories. And I've just added my third right now.
Let's hear it.
Why this is happening. All right.
Big smile.
Ready? And let me get my
theories.
Here. I'm going to get a rally.
Julio.
Let me get if I had a tinfoil cap, I would put
Don't ruin your baseball cap, though.
I know. That's
so for the listeners on podcast, he's flipping his head.
I was going to do a rally cap, but my first theory, they're delaying the season so they can manipulate service time a little bit longer. For Ohtani is one of the main guys who's getting manipulated in his service time. I think already the number of games or days played in a season has already been like messed up all these guys who go for free agency. So like Ken Rosenthal wrote a piece where like Ohtani and Pete Alonso were like two of the main guys who are like should be getting paid astronomical numbers, but there's a chance that might get messed up because of this. 2, this is all intentional because they want to have shorter seasons. So that way, if the season, let's say, starts back up in May, they can be like, oh, hey, look, it works just as well in May. Let's just keep this. And also, like, we're not losing all these games in April for these cities that have bad weather in April. So let's just move it to May. My third conspiracy theory, because you're talking about like, we need something to bring the sport back. This kind of fell under the radar with the story, and not many people talked about it. Is on February 7th, Major League Baseball said that they stopped testing its players for steroids for after nearly 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to so what if all of a sudden baseball's back? Like, wow, Mike Trout gained 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Or like, wow, Aaron Judge is now 6'10" and weighing 270 pounds and it's all muscle. What happened?
The third is extremely far-fetched. I don't know if that's quite the thing.
But I do not condone the steroids use, but
the first two are pretty realistic, though, to be honest with you. The service time, especially. I mean, I guarantee that was part of it. I guarantee that was part of it. So the owners don't have to pay that money and they can pocket more of it. The second thing, honestly, the fucking season should be shortened. I'll be completely honest, but it shouldn't be shortened so it starts later. It should be shortened to where it ends earlier, in my opinion. You're going up against football during playoff time when you could be like that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it literally, that's the okay, so let's just jump into
baseball rules, though. Come on. I'll let you finish your point.
Hold on. Let's just jump into this now. So, like, my biggest issue that I have with the player side, which is like, this is the only real one of them not coming to a deal, is that the owners want to expand to a 14-team playoff. The players do not want to do that. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So the players' biggest thing that they're trying to negotiate in this deal is a raise in the minimum salaries for players, which makes sense. Like, they're, especially minor league players, they don't get paid shit. I agree with that. Look at the NBA, look at the NFL, everybody's getting paid from the bottom level, especially from the floor of checks for players is a lot higher in those leagues than it is in baseball. So why wouldn't you want to expand the playoffs? Let more of your players get a piece of that playoff bonus check. It just seems very, that specific point seems very contradictive. It's like, okay, we want our players to get paid more, but we don't want to share. We don't want to share that check more. We want more money in the pockets of the players who are like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Two, how you're going to, one big way how you're going to fix this game and the popularity of this game is you have to make for more meaningful baseball games in the season. In July, like, when July comes around, the buzz of like baseball season's here. It's the only sport that's on. Like, you kind of like start to lose that little, like, the trade deadline just happened. You kind of start to lose that little, that popularity, that vibe, like around like August and September time. And when you get to September, you kind of know who the playoff teams are. Maybe there's like, in each league, there's like 2 teams that are vying for like that last playoff spot. But the other 80% of the league, whatever it is, I'm not good at math. They're just going through the motions. And that's why no one's going in the games during September. So no one's like watching. If you expand those playoffs, you're going to have like 5 to 6 teams playing for those last 3 playoff spots. It's going to make for more meaningful regular season games at the end of the season. It's going to make for more meaningful playoff games, like an additional round, more additional playoff games at the beginning, like, of October. Like, more meaningful baseball is going to get more people to watch. Like, people they need a reason to watch the game. It's a slow paced game. It's kind of boring at times. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm a diehard A's fan. I watch like 90% of the games, but there are times in August, in July, where I'm just like, it's just kind of on in the background. I'm not really paying attention. Like, it's because there's nothing for them to play for. If you shorten the season, you start the playoffs in September, August games are going to be huge with the expanded playoffs. August games are going to be hugely important. Those July games around the deadline are going to be big, even more important. More teams are going to be involved at the trade deadline. I don't see anything negative about it.
I love it. There was that. So I was thinking, as you were spinning that out, it reminded me, I don't know if I was texting you about this. I know I was talking to my boss about this. Shout out Taylor. You might be listening, but, that week of the NBA All-Star break where they legit took a full week off. By the time actual play came back, I was so thirsty for basketball because I'm like, we have nothing right now. I'm like, I'm watching, whatever random sport thing I can find because like there's nothing on right now. And I think instead of shortening the season by saying, hey, let's cut off the beginning or let's cut off the end of the seasons, why don't they just start initiating more a week off in May, a week off for All-Star break, and then like a week off in September or something, just to be like, give a rest. So you can still keep that same pace. Cause like October baseball, I swear to God, there's nothing more exciting like in the world to me than like baseball in October, especially like the sun is setting early. This is the perfect weather.
You associate October baseball with the playoffs because that's when the playoffs are. If they're in September, it's going to be the same feel. It's going to be warmer weather too. It's going to be better conditions for the playoffs, Julio.
I would say I like when it's a little bit colder though.
Okay.
But anyways,
I don't know. The weeks off, like you'd have to pick those months super strategically. So if you did it in August or if you did it in July, there's no other sport going on. So you kind of like
Chris
fucked yourself when it comes to ratings.
We'll take it back to elementary school. John Muir. Each division will be on a track system. The West will be on a red track.
There you go. That's how you do it.
You get a week off.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
The West gets a week off in May. Yeah. The East gets a week off in June.
So for the listeners in Antioch, where we grew up, the elementary school system when we were kids, it changed now. It's traditional now, but they had tracks and you would pick a color. There was 4. It was red track, blue track, yellow track, green track. And all of them had like kind of a summer break, but each month a different track had like a different day off. So like we were on red track. We had November off, we had March off, and then we had July off. So we were kind of like the more traditional version of that. But yeah, it was so that all the kids weren't in school at the same time. Anyway, keep going.
It was tight too. And I loved it because like, cool, I got every July off anyways. Yeah. So the argument that I saw that was going against why teams or why players would want expanded playoffs, even if there is like a bigger hand in the pool, is because they think there would be more or less rewarding owners for mediocrity, that you're just going to have this like teams that are always just going to make it in. And let's be real, the A's would be that team where it's like, cool, well, we don't need to spend up more because look, we're still making it in every time.
You're one of those guys like Bill Simmons who is like, it'll dilute the playoffs more. Well, Bill Simmons is the guy who was promoting and trying to get the NBA to do the play-in tournament for the past 10 years. And but he's down with 10 NBA teams in the playoffs, but he's not down for 2 more teams in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, you can also say the biggest difference is, well, at least the NBA has a salary cap. So like you got to spend, whereas baseball, you can't have an expanded playoff like this without having some sort of a cap. And it's like, that's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen in this deal because it's like, you're going to reward the A's and the Guardians and the Marlins made it in 2020. And it's like,
yeah.
So you're just going to reward these teams who are just kind of getting by right now. And that's what the players don't want. They've talked about, and we're going to talk about this in a split second. I'll transition to it. The players want every team to spend what they should be spending. We're not asking you to pay $250 million in payroll a year. We're just asking you to be competitive. Which, do you have anything else to say on this, or can I change?
On that note, it's so you're basically telling me it's either players get paid more or we save the game of baseball. That's what we have to choose right now. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Players get paid more or we save baseball?
Yeah, because the way to save baseball is not to pay the players more and keep the status quo. I mean, that's not the point that I'm trying. That's not the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. That's the way that it sounds. It's like it sounds like the players then the players are being greedy in some way, shape, or form because they want to get paid more and they want to keep the status quo. They don't give a shit about the popularity of this game. It could die in 10 years for all they care about, but they want to get paid more money now. Whereas if we expand the playoffs now and get more eyes on more meaningful games, more eyes on the sport, then you're going to save the game of baseball. Okay.
That's true.
The way you're wording it is like, I have to choose between those two things.
That's true.
Obviously there needs to be minimum payroll. That's the solution to a lot of these problems.
And you know what? Now that you're saying it like that, it kind of goes back to like, look, is it going to be a short-sighted thing that these teams are just squeaking in? Like, hey, they're not going to win, but they're squeaking in. True. But for a team like Let's say
the
Rockies.
The Astros were below 500 in the 60-game season. They made it to the ALCS. So
that's a whole different story, though. They were just hurt all year. But besides the point, yes.
You could argue that, like with a lot of teams. I mean, you could say that a lot of those teams are probably going to squeak into the playoffs because they're injured.
Yeah, like let's watch the fucking Lakers go on a run and just ruins basketball. They're not going to, but
let's move on. We could argue.
Anyways,
that
yes, we can argue either way. Let's just hope something gets solved soon. But one part of the agreement that actually involves our boys in the green and gold, that's going to be in there, is MLB is looking to bring back the shared revenue process. This was something that was dropped back in 2016. Pretty much a summary of it is like all of baseball revenue that's come through for all these teams. There is a portion of it that is being sent to small market teams, air quotes over here, to help generate revenue for them that they may have lost from suffering in small markets. So teams like the Rockies, I think the Royals may have been a part of it. But our boys in the green and gold are a part of it, even though they are in one of the biggest markets in the country. And they shouldn't be operated as if they're a small market team. They technically are, because that's how they're operated. It'll be good in a sense, because at least it'll force John Fisher to spend a little bit, but it's like, it shouldn't have to be this way.
I don't know if it'll force him to spend a little bit, but he's going to get a piece of the pie no matter what. That enrages me a little bit, but yeah, I don't know.
Do you think John Fisher might have Rob Manfred like in his back pocket? That's been some speculation.
He's got to be one of the owners. Yeah, that does. I'm sure there's a good amount of owners in Major League Baseball that do you think John Fisher knows how much of a fucking joke he is? That's a real question.
No,
like, do you think
I would think he just seems out of
touch? Do you think he goes to billionaire meetings, like billionaire get-togethers, whatever the fuck you call them, in the Bay Area, and doesn't realize that as soon as he turns his back, Joe Lacob's probably like just making fun of how much of a terrible businessman he is?
And I'm glad you brought up that example, because of we will have our eventual spinoff Warriors pod one day, but Joe Lacob is, at least you can talk about, how kind of arrogant he is, and how, hey, this has worked for us in the past, we're going to keep working it. But Joe Lacob is very much in touch with the game. He's very much in touch with the rest of the ownership. Whereas you can line up 5 different men in their 60s, and you had to say one of these guys is John Fisher. And I think majority of A's fans couldn't tell you who it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the perks of just laying under the shadows this whole entire time, throughout this whole 15, 16 years of being a part of this ownership group.
You could say the same thing about Mark Davis. It's like, you can make fun of him all you want, his haircut, his, the way he's run the team.
His PF Chang's obsession.
Yeah. The way he's run the team since, his dad passed away and he took over, but he's present, they do like look-ins in the draft room on the ESPN draft broadcast, and he's in the draft room. He's got papers and pen in front of him, and he's punching the numbers. Like, same thing with Joe Lacob. I doubt John Fisher even goes to games.
Oh, we've seen him behind home plate. We've seen him
twice.
behind when I throw in my Kill Bill music. I think maybe that could be a way to help fix baseball, because with the NBA and with NFL, what a lot of these owners look like, whether they've wanted that face or not. Know what Jeannie Buss looks like. What Robert Kraft looks like. What this. There's not many guys, if you were to see them off the street, where you'd be like, oh, that's blah blah blah. They own X team in baseball. Yeah. Whereas if you would have been like, oh yeah, A-Rod owns the Minnesota Timberwolves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, it's kind of they're going to be getting some extra money from it. They shouldn't get it because we have the money. But anyways, let's talk about something a little bit positive. Yeah, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. So more city council stuff. The stadium is starting to look a little bit better. 2 weeks ago, the Oakland City Council certified the environmental impact report for the A's planned stadium. It passed 6-2. You can probably guess who the two who voted no on it.
Should be no shocker to anybody.
Yeah, it was
Their
Guy on
political
5.
careers, they are probably over after this run as well, probably because of that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they.
But we're getting closer and closer. Mayor Libby Schaff tweeted or said in a statement, tonight's vote by City Council was a historic moment for Oakland's future. The companion resolution by council members Bass, Kaplan, and Kopp ensures that all Oaklanders will benefit from the proposed waterfront ballpark district, and that a world-class development with 18 acres of new ballparks or new public parks, 3,000 units of housing, including new affordable housing, will get built with the most sustainable and highest environmental standards on our waterfront. And then Dave Cavell said boom with the pop emoji. Yes.
Yeah, he gave it. I mean, he said it himself. This is huge step in that direction. I mean, both sides are ecstatic and agree and are happy about the decision. Then that's great news.
A lot of people have been asking me because
that's like the first thing that people ask me when baseball gets talked about.
It sucks a little bit when like you've become the go-to person about stuff like this. You're like, dude, I don't know. I don't sit in these meetings. Go ask Casey Pratt.
The way that they phrase it is just like baseball conversation comes up like, oh, what are you fan? A's fan. Oh, an A's fan, or should I say the Vegas A's? I'm just like, dude, you got to read up on your shit.
Especially since both of our jobs are very they're both in sports, but then too, it's very we work across the country. We work with different people from all across the country. Yeah. So like you have people who have no idea what's going on. We gotta be like,
my response is like, dude, I'm like 85. It's like 85% that it's going to be in Oakland. So you can stop that nonsense. So like, are you like, if you are a betting man, when would you say shovels in the ground? I'm going to give you, okay. Actually, if you finished, if you have a statement in mind, I have something I want to follow up with. This off season, this coming off season, like next spring. They're not going to do it in the winter. They're not going to start construction in the winter. That'd be because rain and stuff like that. They'll have delays. So, next February or March. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I asked, when I opened up, like writing down notes, one of the first things I saw was May 5th season start over under. I took the under, you took the over.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make another one right now. Howard's Terminal.
No, I thought you took the over. I took the under.
That's what I had written, at least.
So you after
I took
May
under
5th
before May 5th. You took after May 5th.
Okay. I thought it was the other way around. Oh, I mean, sounds like a good bet to me now.
Yeah. So let's say. What would you put your date then? Because I want to put this in writing and see how we're gonna do.
I don't know. March 1st. Yeah.
March. Okay. Howard Terminal, shovel and ground. March 1st, over under.
It'll be after like pitchers and catchers report, you know.
So you're gonna take the over on it?
Actually, maybe before. Oh, March 1st is the over under date that we're picking?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go under, yeah, before March 1st.
You're gonna go
I think
before
it'll be
March
like
1st?
I think it'll be before they go to camp, because if you think about it, all those people who have to be there for the photo op need to be at camp. Although they fly a private jet to Arizona, but still.
So I took the under as well. I think the whole point of this exercise is to show I think we're feeling really confident about this. Man.
Yeah. I'm at like 90% now. It's like 85% before, but I'm like after this vote, I'm at like 90.
You were at a solid B, and now you've shot your way up to the A range.
The only reason why it's not 100 is because I know that they have trips coming to go check out like 5 sites in Vegas. But I know at this point it like a few writers have talked about it. It's more like they're going through the motions. Like they have these visits set. Like they have to do them now. Like you can't like skip out on it. So it's just like seeing the places out, getting their engineers on it so they can kind of like think about a design and start working on that stuff. But it's like, it's just going through the motions at this point. It's not anything in particular. So
yeah, it's just it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
Obviously Oakland wants me to stay, leadership wants me to stay.
Yeah.
Whether it's because it's an election year and a lot of these people are up for their jobs, we'll see. But all things are looking positive. If you want to stay up to date, if you're not already following him on Twitter with anything when it comes to the stadium situation, Casey Pratt has been lights out.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. If and when this stadium deal does get done, he should never have to pay for a beer in that stadium.
Fuck no.
All right, now last thing.
Or in East Oakland in general. Sorry, go ahead.
That's true. Last thing before we bring in our guests.
I guess West Oakland.
What?
Yeah, it'd be West Oakland.
Yeah.
Terminal. Yeah,
somewhere there. Anyways, last thing. The A's made a signing, as much as signing as they can with the majors locked out. Second to last thing. Actually, I forgot the transition. My bad. Eric Thames, if you may remember him, he was with the Milwaukee Brewers a couple years ago, where he came over from the Korean Baseball League. He was the MVP out there, and he completely lit up the Brewers. 2017, he hit 31 home runs. 2018, he hit 16, and 2019, he hit 25. With the Nationals in the shortened season, he only hit 3. He took the year off. He went to go play in Japan, and now he's back in the States. He signed a minor league deal with the A's. South Bay native.
A Dinger Derby.
Dinger Derby.
That's what I'm going to start from this point on this podcast calling big home run hitters. He's a Dinger Derbier. Dinger Derby.
Dude, I'm very excited. I'll be real with you.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to probably be the DH. He's going to be great. He's going to hit 30 home runs. He'll probably hit like around 220, which is fine. Like, it is what it is in today's world. You don't need your DH to be a high average hitter. As long as he can hit like 5 or 6 and bring in runs, that's all you need. He's going to be great. He's going to be perfect for what we need. He's going to be, I wish I would have, I was hoping that Chris Davis would work out, but I think this is a more consistent pick. He consistently hits home runs. He's never really faded off of that in his entire career.
And Chris Davis also was with the Brewers too. So it's kind of funny that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So looking at kind of the deeper numbers with him, he's actually got those 2 years where he hit 30 plus bombs. 25 and 31. On base percentage.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On base percentage was 359, and then on base percentage was 346, which are fantastic. I think we talked about this when this initially went down, which was like, he's more or less, until we see what's going to happen post lockout, going to take Mark Canha's role, not in terms of like, leadoff hitter, play every position, but in terms of like an extra bat that's going to be out there with power.
Yeah,
just like power production from another person. Like, he could easily slide into that role and kind of hit those same numbers that Canha's been hitting.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, we don't know what's going to happen post lockout, what with the moves and whatnot. Let's say that a minimum salary does get negotiated, and the A's end up keeping one of the Mats or something like that. He's going to be a nice little addition to a team that is going to be looking to win. That's probably not going to be the situation, but I don't know. He'll just be fun to watch. Also, didn't he split time with the Brewers at first? Like, I think he split time with someone there. So he's hitting 30 home runs with like, I don't know, like not an insane amount of at bats.
No, so he got called up. It was there was kind of like a trend that was going on with the Brewers where they were picking up guys who had been playing in the Korean baseball leagues and brought him over.
Like, what's his face? Lindblom.
There's the starter. I can't remember the starter's name off the top of my head. Yes, I think you're right. Yeah. But in 2017, he'd signed like as a full-time major. They signed him for a 3-year, $16 million deal back then, or 2016 to play full-time with the Brewers. But hey, you know what? The A's find they're really good at like finding the diamonds in the rough throughout this run with Billy Beane. He's 35, so this is probably going to be his last chance of making it to the majors. And who knows, man? I think he could really be a good piece in this offense, even if like the guys get traded away. I was talking about this on Twitter with Right Field Will and our boy Q, but even with those dark ages, you always find something to kind of grasp on in those age runs that are just fun. So it's like the late 2000s with Jack Cust. You're like, those teams weren't good, but it was fun to watch Jack Cust play. Or like the mid 2010s is like Stephen, this after they traded Donaldson and Moss, Stephen Vogt was still fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Who doesn't like watching home runs get hit? And Stephen Vogt, just the fucking grittiness that he had. Yeah. Let's move on. Next thing. Derek Jeter resigned as CEO and president of the Marlins a few days ago. He had been there for 5 years. When he first came, he made a deal with the Marlins in order to gain equity in the team. He put down $25 million. He was going to get paid $5 million a year. And that would kind of like pay off his salary, and it wouldn't cost the team any money, but also it would help him gain equity. And he was going to run that franchise to like one day be the primary owner of the franchise, blah, 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 blah. Or one of, at least run the ship. I mean, we're not going to go too deep into this. Me, you, and the Schlatters texted about this today a little bit. Jeter's regime is, questionable. You could argue each side of it. I think it's a failure because he had the best outfield in baseball. The plan he was going to have when he took over the team was to keep that outfield. It seemed like that outfield wanted to stay because of, who Derek Jeter was. They got a little bit disgruntled. He started trading those guys. Didn't really get any prospects back in any of those trades except for the Marcell Ozuna trade where he got Sandy Alcantara, who's their ace. So to have those three, to have Yelich, to have Marcell Ozuna, and Giancarlo Stanton, thank you. And to pretty much get nothing out of those trades, I think is a pretty big failure. Their farm system was a joke when he first took over. It has gotten better the past 2 years. I will give him credit for that. He has really built that up, but you could argue that was more Kim Ng who took over 2 years ago. So I don't know. It's interesting. They've never really been good with attendance. Their ballpark is kind of a mess. Baseball is not really popular down there. It's a really weird situation.
It's interesting. The point I brought up in the chat was like a lot of these, GOAT players have a hard time transitioning into sports ownership. Like it took Michael Jordan forever to become a good owner. And now, the Hornets are starting to come around. They got a pretty solid team there. But there's just, I think it just seems like a lot of these guys where your whole life has been this thing. What do you do when it's not your thing anymore? How do you find that transition out? And just Derek Jeter looks like he became the next guy that what's going to happen next? Nobody knows. And I was kind of joking.
He'll get a job somewhere.
I think he'd be awesome on TV. I
don't know.
Baseball
I don't know enough about his personality to know if he's charismatic and shit like that enough. I know he just like, I know the history of him with women. That's fine. But like, I don't know if TV is the right move for him.
I mean, he hosted Saturday Night Live.
Was he good?
Yeah. I remember him being good. He had some pretty funny bits it was, 20 plus years ago, but
I feel like there's like this mentality in sports media, not this mentality, this like thought in sports media that, and a lot of the public assumes it too, is like, if you were a really great player, you're going to be great on television too. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like Tom Brady, I don't think would be good on TV.
Peyton's
Peyton's
and
fine, but honestly, awesome. Eli is better than Peyton. Eli is hilarious. Who
would have thought too?
Yeah, right.
Eli's been hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees was awful. Like, luckily I was at a bar during that Raider game. I also would have lost my mind, but like the times that I could listen to him, he was pretty bad.
Yeah, who knows? Do you think he's kind of seen the dirty side of being at that level of baseball and just being like, this, especially with all this lockout stuff going on. Like, because at the end of the day, none of these baseball owners have played baseball at a competitive level. He's the only one who has.
No,
and
I think
at the top level too.
No, I think that he was just way over his head. He was just in way over his head. I think that he should have started at a lower position, like a assistant to the GM or a scout, and then moved up the ranks. He'll get a job in baseball front office somewhere, but it won't be CEO and president. He won't be running the entire operation of the team. He'll be doing something with with the front office, player development, scouting, something like that. He'll get like a job with probably the Yankees, to be honest with you, as like a assistant GM and then he'll, like in 10 years, he'll be the general manager or the VP.
Watch him become like the next owner.
Like that.
Watch the Steinbrenners being like, we'll sell you the team.
I don't think the Steinbrenners will ever sell the team.
No way. That'd be funny though.
Yeah. But that's what I think his future is. All right. One last thing. This will be quick. College baseball is going on, ladies and gentlemen. If you need your fix of baseball, me and Julio have been like super on it lately. If you have ESPN
College
Plus,
Chris, everybody.
Yeah, College Chris, baby. If you have ESPN Plus, there's games on like all fucking day on ESPN Plus. You can just turn them on. But if you want your baseball fix, that's where you can go right now. And as some of you know, the end of the college baseball season last year, I did updates. Big fan of what they do at that level. Let me give you a little update on some of the local teams in the Bay Area. Cal started off real red hot. They are 5-3 right now. They've taken down 3 top 10 teams. They faced another top 10 or top 25 team. Faced another top 25 team on Friday, Florida State. So tune into that. They are not ranked, but I could see them ranked in the future, being that they have had some big wins lately. Play Florida State this weekend, the 4th to the 6th. They play Santa Clara on the 8th, and they play University of Arizona the 11th through 13th. These games will be on Pac-12 Network. Stanford, number 6 team in the country. They are 6-2 right now. They have some good matchups coming up. California State University Northridge, the 4th through the 6th of March. And University of Oregon on the 11th through the 13th. University of Oregon is not a good baseball program. They'll probably whoop their ass. Historically, they're not good. San Jose State off to also a good start, but they're not a good team. They're just they've had a weak schedule. They play New Mexico State on the 4th through the 6th, then Cal Poly, and then UC Northridge. Sacramento State, alumni right here, baby. Stingers up. They are the number 23 ranked team in the country. They lost to Cal this week, unfortunately, but they are 7-2. They have a very good baseball team. Historically, they have a very good baseball team. They play in the WAC, which is a very good baseball conference. You wouldn't think that, because when you associate conferences in college, you associate Power 5 conferences, but in baseball, it's completely different. It is not quite the case. They play Houston Baptist on the 4th through the 6th. They play St. Mary's, which is a good baseball program. They're not good this year, but normally they're good. On the 8th, and then Dixie State next week. UC Davis sucks. They're 0-5. They play UOP this coming week, and then they play UC in 2 weeks. They're not. You guys don't need to watch them. St. Mary's is 8-0. Oh, sorry. St. Mary's is good. It's USF that I was thinking of. St. Mary's is 8-0. They play UC Riverside this coming weekend, then they play Sac State, and then they play East Carolina the following week. They're a very good team. They have a very nice stadium. If you want to go check out their stadium and go watch a game, I highly recommend it. USF, University of San Francisco, another historically great program. Not good this year, but a good program. They're 5-4. They play St. John's, the Johnnies of the Big East this weekend, and then they play Florida State the following week. If you want to go watch some baseball, Cal, Stanford, San Jose State, they all have really good stadiums. Sacramento State, not so much. But they're fun teams to watch, and it's a good way if you have like kids or something like that. They do like kids days, and I looked it up on their schedule. Cal has one coming up. They do like kids Fridays and stuff like that. There's special things for them, special deals. Me and Julio are planning on going to a USC game this year. It's $10 to get into a game. $10, super cheap. Fun
USC or
fun family outing.
C.
Jagger Robinson Stadium is actually really cool.
I haven't been.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go to college baseball game at some point.
Support college baseball. It's fun when they hit home runs. It's really loud, which is really cool. Bing! Like that's.
I missed that sound. I haven't heard that sound in a while.
Yeah. So if you need something to watch, you want something to follow baseball wise, check out college baseball. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to talk with Melissa Lockard about the minor league system and the minor league, the A's minor league system, and some players to watch and whatnot. So stick around. We'll be right back.